Hi! You probably clicked on this video because you want to make better thumbnails for your Minecraft and or Hytale videos. Well, what if I told you I could take a screenshot of this character right now and slap him straight into Photoshop or any other software of my choice where I build my thumbnails? First and foremost, what is this software that I'm currently working inside of? Well, it's called Blockbench, and you can find more about Blockbench over at blockbench.net. It is free to use, and you can use it on your phones, tablets, PC, or other devices that has a web browser. Although this memo right here is to remind me to mention that you shouldn't try to use it on your TV.
I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. Look at this, I am effectively... And it's, oh wow, it's not. Oh, this is not convenient at all. Do I need to hold? I can't click and hold at the same time. Blockbench on TV. Don't recommend this. Like you can't even scroll and move properly.
Jokes aside, it is the software that the developers of Hytale are using and Mojang are using when they're deploying new things into the game as of late. It has been around the community for a very long time and I cannot recommend enough trying it out. And if you want to learn more about Blockbench beyond this video, then please by all means check out the playlist I got going in the video description. But before we move ahead to posing and FOV and how to put your character in an interesting way for the thumbnail, let me first tell you how to take this very character and move them into another document. All we got to do is to convert this 3D model into a 2D picture. It is as simple as the click of a button. Right click and screenshot model or Control P. Just knowing that, however, does not make better thumbnails. So here's what Control P and Screenshot Model actually does. It gives you a picture of the character as you see it inside of Blockbench. Now notice how this screenshot has a size and resolution, and also that it's a PNG. There are a few takeaways here that are quite important to know. This size is effectively the same size in resolution that the character currently takes up on your screen. If you have a low resolution monitor, you're gonna get a low resolution picture. The higher resolution of your monitor, the higher resolution of the picture. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're gonna screenshot the model. We have now offered 3 choices at the bottom. We can choose to copy this to clipboard, we can save it as a .png on our system, or edit the picture inside of Blockbench. Saving, of course, means you put this picture somewhere of your choosing on your system, and then you have to go and find it if you want to put it inside of another software. Copy to clipboard, however, is really nice and nifty, although you don't get an original file to pull from. Now, I have copied to clipboard and I'm inside of Photoshop, and all I got to do here is to press Ctrl V and paste the picture in. As you'll notice, the character here is much larger by the size of the comparison here to the picture in the background and the actual character itself in terms of resolution, because the background in Photoshop is the regular resolution of an HD screen, 1920 x 1080. Whilst if we go back into Blockbench, we can tell that 1080, which is the document size in Photoshop, is slimmer than that of the total size of any of the widths of our picture, because it's either 1279 wide or 1213 tall. That's good to know, because when we are working with a clipboard picture, we are directly affecting the picture. It's not referenced, which means if I choose to do anything to this, resize it or whatever, Photoshop will lose data in the process. I'll show you by quickly sizing this one down, like so, and sizing it up again, like so. It has lost a lot of data in that process. That was a destructive action. And the more I continue to manipulate this picture this way, the more data it will lose every time, because it's always going to refer to the smallest size it was previously and make up pixels on the go to sort of cover up for what pixels it didn't have beforehand. And with a quick undo, just be mindful of that. As you see, it's not just as simple as snapping a screenshot. If I instead save this picture and copy that picture into Photoshop and save that, you'll notice here on the right hand side that the layer 1 that was my clipboard does not have this little icon next to it. That icon means that it's a reference document. So if I size this one down now, and I make sure to save that, and I size it back up, it'll retain the resolution that it had. Why? Because it's referencing a document, so it's never destroying any of the actual pixel data. In Photoshop, I can quickly change that though by selecting the layer and clicking on it with a brush tool, which will prompt this pop-up window. I can just press OK, and now this picture is no longer referenced, meaning that if I size it down, click OK, and size it back up, it will indeed have lost a lot of pixel data in the process. I'm just making sure to mention that now, so you don't have to face that issue later. The last option was to edit the picture inside of Blockbench, and now you're going to be faced with something quite interesting. This is not what your Blockbench will look like when you're usually using it. What I have done is that I've been using the short command Ctrl-B, or as you can choose to do, go down to this little arrow here at the bottom and press it, which opens up the side panel. Ctrl-B hides and enables them. And you can assume that's quite useful when you want to snap your thumbnails. Because with the sidebars back in place, well, I have a lot less of a screen area that it can capture. It'll still capture it here though, but if I move my character under behind one of these panels and I screenshot it, you'll notice that it cuts off where the panel is located. Now if I unhide the panels and screenshot, it'll show the entire picture for all of my character who was even behind where the panels were. Which is great when you're composing a larger set with more characters and more items in them. And if you want to know more about poses and animations, I got a couple of animation tutorials up already, but I got even more coming your way soon. Also, if you made it this far and you're an absolute Blockbench beginner still, left click here to pull and drag and move and rotate your character around like this. Right click to move them around in the scene, so this is basically where your camera is looking at the character. I'm just quickly gonna go back to talking about the image editing in Blockbench, and then I'll tell you a bit about FOV. Now, this is not a 3D model of our character, this is the 2D picture that was taken, and as you can tell over on this hand side we got layers, we can add more layers which we can paint upon. Look at that, very slim pencil. I can go up here, size the pencil up, gives me a thicker pencil. Beautiful, looks like something my son could have drawn. Yes, he is 3 years old, so this type of squiggle is something I'm quite used to. If you hold Ctrl and zoom in, you can go all the way into the very pixels and draw your own little pixels. Right here we're gonna do something that looks a bit like a leaf. Why am I painting this random little leaf? I have no clue, but now it's there. And since this is painted on a different layer, I can also choose to untoggle and toggle the layers back on and off. Now, you will not be doing your thumbnails in this image tab, trust me, but it is good to know that it exists, because if you go to image, you can adjust things here on the fly as well. So if you want to do something to your picture before you're saving it, you can go in and edit the brightness and contrast, change the opacity, change the hue and boost the saturation values, all of that before you choose to actually save this picture down. Personally, I do all of that in Photoshop because that's also where I compose my pictures. It makes a lot of sense to use it as a finalizing feature of my thumbnail creation. But it is extremely good to know that you can do it inside a Blockbench, because if you're not used to Photoshop, if you've never used one of those softwares before, doing some of those edits in here is a massive value to your thumbnail straight away. Let me quickly demonstrate why inside of Photoshop. I'm going to paint my background darker, and let me tell you something quickly about what we call pop when we speak about thumbnails. If I select this layer and I go to image and I choose to adjust the exposure rate, I can bring up my character to look brighter and have more gamma, which gives him more defined features. Same with the shields and all of that. Just be wary of the fact that white can pop and become really white when you're doing this. So it's a matter of changing the values just briefly. And I can of course take this further by increasing the vibrance and saturation so it really becomes green. That, as opposed to this, is a lot more vibrant. And as we said, this, as opposed to that, is also a lot more vibrant. And here are the two as a comparison next to each other, just to prove how much of a difference that did. And if you're scrolling on your phone and seeing this picture in a small feed, that pops for your eyes. And this does the sheer opposite, especially when they're sitting in contrast. So now you know a little bit about how to make your character pop out of the background and become more clickable as a thumbnail element. You know how to screenshot the character inside of Blockbench and put that inside of a document of your choosing. But I haven't spoken about what makes an interesting clickable character, because just screenshotting my Minecraft character as is right here, for example, will not make the thumbnail very interesting. That's just a matter of facts. First and foremost, there is the FOV. Because let's say you want to put your character inside of a Minecraft scene. We're gonna use this part of terrain down here. I'm gonna change my FOV in the game, because I am currently playing at 90. The most clickable thumbnails are usually at an FOV of 30 to 45 for characters in the foreground. I'm gonna go with 35 for this one. I want my character to stand here and point towards the massive pipeline I'm building here on the Minecraft server. So yes, thumbnail composition is also about understanding what your scene is gonna be. Something like that. I'm now going to screenshot a portion of the screen, since this is a higher resolution screen than that of my Photoshop document I spoke about before. Let's paste this in and move it so we can see there. That's a good amount of grass, which gives this entire space here for a character to stand upon. Now I want to pose my character so he looks towards the rail, but also stands with the back towards the camera. And yes, as you can tell, it's just as simple as moving the camera about here, so I'm behind the character, and zooming in and moving him to the right hand side of the screen. I can also preview that inside of Blockbench by adding reference image from clipboard since I screenshotted the background. Add to this project, and now you can see me pulling this massive pipeline picture up here. Just be wary if it goes outside of your screen reach, you'll have to move it to the side to pick it back up. Gonna move it around to here and click elsewhere outside of the pictures. My character pops up on front. Now I can use this as a reference point for where I kind of want my character to stand. Now my character is as the FOV of 45, so let's go and change that up at File, Preferences, Settings, Preview, and FOV. It was 35 in game, 35 is the FOV here. Now my character matches properly with the scene in the background. So all I gotta do now is to see if I can get him to sort of look right. Maybe I'll zoom him out a bit so it's more in the scene. Now I'm gonna go to the Animate tab since this happens to be a rigged and animatable character. If you're gonna have one of those made, then you follow one of my other tutorials and you'll figure it out in no time. Here I can just click and pull on the head for it to look towards the pipeline like so. Maybe I want to zoom him out a bit more actually. That maybe should be pointing with the arm towards the pipeline. Now, if I screenshot this, it's not going to carry out a screenshot with the background behind it. It's going to just screenshot my character, like so. Copy to clipboard, and back into Photoshop, I can paste him in. Just look at that for reference and place him where I think he should be in here. Now, don't make the mistake to look at this and go, perfect, that's my thumbnail. You have just gotten started. Now we need to make sure that this is clickable in a YouTube feed. First and foremost, make sure that your character pops out of the background. Make them interesting. Make them something people will notice when they look at the picture. You can already see how much more vibrant the character is from the background. In Photoshop, I can just use a magic wand to take out all of the pixels that are currently sky and delete that, because I want to have a different sky to my picture. Now, already this made the pipeline and my character pop from the background. I'm gonna go into image with my background selected and bring up the exposure rate for that a little bit so it's a bit more readable, maybe a bit more gamma there as well. I'm also gonna change the brightness and contrast a bit, more brightness, there we go. Now you can see how the character is not really popping as much anymore, and we still have work to do. I'm gonna increase the vibrance of the background picture, more like so, more saturation. We want the grass to be really green and lush here in the foreground, but not jarring. That should be about it. Now I can always go in and remove some of that color balance of yellow that I think is popping through a bit harshly. See, with more blue in the picture, it suddenly becomes a bit softer and more readable compared to my character. Same thing with the highlights, a bit more blue there as well, maybe a bit more cyan. Don't want to lose the yellow though, so I'm going to put more yellow and red into the shadows of the picture. Back to my character and why I'm using Photoshop. If I double click the layer, I can use blending styles. If I add an inner shadow with light and overlay feature to the blend mode and slightly lesser opacity and light coming from above, you can see how it almost looks as if my character is being lit up from above. Another one as well with a sharp white means it's now going to pop from the background of blue that I'm going to put here as my sky. Creating an empty layer, I'm going to go in and pick a sharp blue that is a bit more towards the cyan. Paint that on that full layer. Now we have a strong contrasting popping blue sky. But we also know that Minecraft does not have a completely thick blue sky. We have a bit of white towards the horizon to make it fade over. I'm gonna do the same here with a massive brush size of white. Just go in and sweep by holding shift a white into the horizon like so. Maybe also pick color at the top of the sky and a slightly darker blue. Go in and just gently whistle that in. Now, as you can tell, that wasn't many minutes of clicking around until we got to where we wanted. And if we go back into Blockbench, we can compare just how much of a stark contrast this is to what we got going beforehand. This is the scene in Blockbench, this is the scene in Photoshop. Massive difference? I'll let it speak for itself. And now comes the question. Did you learn something new today? Well, if you did and you're excited to start working on your Hytale and Minecraft thumbnails, then please by all means leave a comment down below telling me what you found most exciting in the video. And if you're asking yourself why somebody would do something like this in Blockbench and want to see more Blockbench tutorials, then make sure to like the video and tell your friends about it so they also can find out about this cool software. Now there's still a lot we can talk about when it comes to rigging and posing, but that's for another video. And to get Hytale models into Blockbench, just pull them over from the uncompiled game. You get textures and models waiting in there for you. Although size and scale may be a little bit mismatched when you're starting out. So, like I said, make sure to check out the tutorials I got on rigging and modeling.